why I'm making this podcast, is because I want the people that don't know what they're doing with their lives, or they're tired of like whatever it is that they're doing, and they want to find an entrepreneurial route, right? You are a very successful realtor. You're killing it. How long have you been in the game?
Thank you. I don't love telling people this, but 3 years, so not
3
long.
years,
Yeah.
but you've gained so much like experience, and not only that, but your influence with your peers and with potential clients is like, it's insane.
Yeah,
right?
it's grown fast, for
So
sure.
you're obviously doing something right. And so like our goal here is to just essentially figure out what that is, and see if we can like build it into actionable steps for like the folks at home.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you're creating this platform for people to, you know, reference people's stories. And to me, like, I've always been the kind of person who, like, if somebody can do it, I can too. That's always been my mindset. If somebody can achieve it, so can I. It's attainable to one person. It's attainable to me. So I love that. I think, you know, we can get great example from people who are doing what we want to do. And, you know, taking those little steps to find your own journey. It's all feasible for all of us, you know?
Yeah. How old were you when you were like, I want to be a realtor?
Yeah. So,
Not how old were you, but like,
when did that start?
yeah.
Yeah, and why? I kind of got into real estate more like on accident. I definitely like didn't, and I think a lot of people don't really like start college or in high school. They're like, I want to be a realtor, unless like you have maybe somebody in the family, like, you know, who's kind of showing you that real estate, you know, how real estate works and how great it can be. For me, I went to college and I went to study pre-law. I went to Fordham University and I was going to go to Fordham Law School. That was like my whole plan. That was my dream. And I think luckily for me though, looking back now, I wasn't able to afford law school. So once I graduated college, I couldn't go straight to law school. I needed to work first because law school is really expensive. So I told myself I'd work at a law firm as a paralegal for a few years, get some experience, you know, learn a little bit more about the field, and ultimately save money. So I was working at a law firm, making nothing. It was a joke, like maybe like $30,000 a year in Paramus, New Jersey. So actually, like, not very far.
Shout out.
Yeah, and I quickly learned I absolutely hated that job. Every lawyer I was working with was like, don't do it. Like, we hate it. It's misery. And then obviously, like, just the money, like, it wasn't making sense for me. I was like, okay, this is not clicking to me. Like, I'm going to invest over $200,000 in law school. And like, after law school, my salary is only going to be this. Like, it doesn't make sense. So long story short, I realized very quickly, about like 4 to 5 months into that paralegal job, that I hated law. I wasn't going to do it. Everybody in my family, you know, some of my friends thought I was crazy. They were like, no, go to law school. I quit that job. I completely changed fields, and I actually went into finance. So I started working at a bank, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll try finance. And I worked at this Korean bank for a little bit in Fort Lee for like maybe a year. At that time, I was about 22. And hated that too. But I stuck it out for a year because I really, really wanted to buy my first multifamily investment property. And I'm sure you know this, and anybody who's looking to buy a home knows that you need to have 2 years of income to qualify for a job, qualify for a loan to purchase a home as a primary residence. So I needed that job, that steady, you know, 9 to 5 income pay stub to help me qualify for that 2-family. And at that time, I was 22, turning 23. And I was so miserable, but I was like, I'm going to stick it out. And finally closed on that house. And I think that's what kind of lit a fire in me to get my real, you know, hold on. At that time I had my real estate license, but I think like that's what lit a fire in me to like really take real estate sales seriously.
Why'd you get your real estate license?
I kind of just had it on the side. Like I, you know, somebody told me I'll get your license.
Like a plan B.
Like during COVID, I was like, oh, I'll just get my license, you know?
Gotcha.
But once I started seeing like the, you know, the investing side of things, and I was always studying books and podcasts. So I was always like, I knew I wanted to get into investing. And then I saw real estate sales, getting my license as a vehicle to help me buy more property. So, and then I just, like, the first month of having my license, I like closed on a deal, then I closed on another one. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm onto something. Like I can actually make a business out of this. And then I learned that I actually really was good at, sales and in real estate. And then I got really passionate and eventually left my full-time job and never looked back.
You touched on something that's very interesting to me because I've worked with a vast amount of realtors, right? And I've seen them through all walks of life,
Yeah.
all different stages in their career. And some people hit the ground running,
Yeah.
and some people hit the ground with their face, right? How did you go from having your real estate license in your back pocket to just buy your own properties while working at a bank to selling a house and selling another one
Yeah.
and selling another one? Like, how does that happen?
I kind of just like threw myself into the fire.
Was
like,
it family and friends, or like how did you?
Oh my God, no. I do not come from like a background of, a family with real estate. I don't come from money. I don't, everything that I've ever earned, I worked hard for. I really just put myself out there. Like I sat open houses. I knocked on doors with, the sweat on my back. I did the things that people don't want to do. Right. And I also think it helps that, I think I have a pretty good personality. And with that, like I was able to connect with a lot of people, and it's all about the people that you connect with, right? And network. I always say like your net worth is your network. It's so true, right?
Yep.
And like to me, the more handshakes you make, the more likelihood and chances you have of success, right? The more people you know. So I just like really went all in and really just put myself out there. I did everything I could to talk to as many people as I could. And, eventually it just starts opening doors. I think some people might take a little bit longer, but for me, like I really just hit the ground running, like making those interpersonal connections. And I was lucky, my
Where
first
were you
sale.
meeting these people?
Everywhere. I mean, I would just put myself in areas and places that would create opportunities for
examples?
me, right? Like sitting like my first sale was from a buyer that I met at an open house, right? Like that buyer came in, they didn't have an agent. I somehow convinced them that they should work with me and I should help them, buy their first multifamily home.
How do you? Okay,
Right?
so that's another
That was
thing.
like maybe a month into me having my license.
How do you have the confidence with only having 1 month with your license?
Yeah.
Like some people are just like, oh no, like go talk to them.
I know. If you're not confident, I don't think you can be in this business. Or I don't think you could be in sales in general. I think you need to have confidence. I think you have to have confidence in the value that you bring too, right? Like for me at that time, I didn't have as many sales to back up my confidence, but what I did have was my drive and my work ethic. And I knew that I would go to bat for these clients. So to me, it didn't matter that I didn't have 50, 60 million in sales or whatever. To me, what mattered was I knew I could bring value. So, I think that aspect, but then also like a lot of it in the beginning, which I'm sure you could agree with, is faking it till you make it.
Yes.
And if you can't and don't know how to fake it till you make it, you're probably not good at sales.
Yeah.
Right? Because in the beginning, it's really like figuring out who you are and figuring out, like what you bring to the table, what excites you, what you're passionate about. And for people to take a chance on you, we all start somewhere, right? We all start at zero. So in the beginning, most people that are taking a chance on you, it's because they believe in you, but also you've proven to them that like there's something about you that they can take a chance on. So, a lot of that I think had to do with me just kind of also faking it till I made it, with my confidence.
It's like winners win.
Yeah.
And you know that. And so like whoever you're betting on, you kind of like can tell just based on their personality. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I have conversations with my realtor friends about this all the time too. I don't think everybody can be successful in this business. Like, I think there's a point where like you do need to have the personality for it, right? Like just like with your business, like not everybody can create a successful digital marketing or like videography company. Like if you don't have like a natural or like an innate creative ability, like some of that can't be taught. Like the stuff that you make, the reels that you make, like I couldn't do it. I'm just like, I think I'm a creative person, but like there's just some things that I don't naturally have in me. And I think that's the same with like real estate sales. Like I do think you need to have the personality for it. You need to be a people person. right? You need to be a problem solver. You need to be passionate about real estate to like actually be good at selling it too. So, I think also like getting into the career, you have to have the right intention because people can see right through it. And that's like, it's an important point. Like I think people see like this business being so glamorous and everything, but online you see these TV shows, but you really have to like think about like, if this kind of business is for you. If you think it is and you have what it takes, then you can be successful. It's not for everybody.
No. Yeah, I definitely see that. It takes a certain type of person to be able to do this.
Yeah.
You're good. Don't worry about it.
It definitely takes a certain kind of person to produce at a consistent level. Like I think anybody can sell one home or two homes a year. You get lucky, your aunt, your uncle, or whatever. But to like actually build a brand and a business that is continuously producing consistent business for you and referrals and all that, like that's a lot harder.
What were some actionable things that you've personally done to build that consistency?
I really focus on building my brand, and I think for me, it started out in one specific area, and then I kind of dominated that area, and now that's like kind of like trickled out to many different areas and people, and word of mouth gets around and things like that. But yeah, really the beginning I think was like figuring out like who am I? What's my mission? What is my brand? Like what makes me different? Like there's so many realtors.
Too many.
Yeah. Like, everyone is like a licensed realtor. The barrier to entry is very low. So for me, it was just like creating that brand and figuring out like what makes me different. And I think I've really like, I've honed in on that. And to me, I think like, and especially like when you talk to my clients now or people that meet me, it's like my energy, my passion, my knowledge, and my creative ability. I'm always trying to be creative, trying to be different. I'm always thinking of ways to kind of, just be different. So yeah, I think it starts out with creating a brand and figuring out what that is and being consistent with what you put out.
I love that because that's one of my biggest things. Anytime I start with a new client, it's like, well, first, like, let's figure out your brand first, especially like if they have no content experience. Like, so how did you gain clarity on your brand? Like, how did you know, okay, this is me, this is not me,
That's a good question. I think it's constantly like evolving in a way.
Sure.
But I think as you start having more success and you see like what works and what doesn't, and like what's resonating well with people and what's maybe not working as well, you kind of just start. I at least started just doing the things and kept following the things that I felt were, succeeding. So like for me, like I became pretty well known, especially in like my market area for like my videos. And now like I go on listing appointments and my sellers are like, I can't wait for the video and all this stuff, right? And so like I learned very quickly, like, okay, that works. It's different. Not many people are doing it. And that's what I'm going to keep rolling with. So I think it's just like, trends also come and go. So like things change, you're always evolving and adapting. And I think adaptability is very important. But I'm just gonna keep doing what works and what people like.
Yeah. So if people don't know already, like you're huge on social media. Like your videos are awesome. You're
not huge. I wouldn't say I'm huge, but I'm getting there.
Well, okay.
I have a goal for this year. Like I really want to hit a certain following, and I have a goal. It's baby steps, but I wouldn't say I'm huge. But thank you.
Maybe not nationally or like worldwide huge, but definitely like. In like the people that know, you know what I mean? Like North Jersey, like everyone, whether they don't know you personally, they definitely know your face.
Yeah, no, I think it takes like organic growth is a little bit slower,
yes,
right? But like at least for me, I know like I have a lot of engagement on my content, and it's like so crazy to think about like, like I get clients now from social media. Like that's like mind-boggling to me.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, and I'm like, look, you can't get a six pack by just doing one crunch. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
me,
it
like
takes,
I go to the gym and I'm like,
it
oh,
takes,
I'm already seeing results. I'll go once. No, yeah, I
but
know what you mean.
yeah, it's consistency. It's
Yeah.
over long periods of time. And a lot of people don't, they'll just like, oh, I'll just boost it, or I'll just,
Oh yeah, I
whatever.
know.
So how long did it take before you were on social media for you to start seeing results?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Definitely a few years. Like I feel like this year, 2023. I'm sorry, we're in 2024. Oh my god, this year, 2024 was the year where I really started seeing it kind of take off, and videos going viral, and following my follower count going up and things like that. But yeah, like I started. I mean, I've been on social media since I was like 15, but like really taking it seriously for business purposes when I first started. So like, 3 years ago, but I really started seeing results like this year. So it takes time. And
Yeah.
now I'm finally at a point where I feel like I'm starting to like figure out my style, you know?
Yeah, because and that's a huge thing too, is like sometimes we'll see so much on social
I
media
know.
that subconsciously we'll start to like replicate what we've seen so much of,
Yeah.
and it's like we have to find our voice too.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found like your ideal client, like avatar? Like have you dialed that in?
I feel like every client's different.
Like
But
who are you envisioning that is watching your videos when you make them?
um, I mean, for me, like, I just hope that obviously, like, if it's a listing video, it's makes my seller happy that, look at this girl. She's really putting in the time and the creative effort to sell my property in a different avenue that a lot of people haven't used. But
Or used properly? Because a lot
yeah,
of people are on social media, but they're not doing it right.
yeah, it doesn't really click well and resonate. Yeah. I mean, I think that's important. In terms of like an ideal client, um, like I think you put out what you get, and what I put out, I'm hoping to attract. And if an agent wants to be in a specific market area or sell a specific kind of home, they should probably put content out that reflects that, right? Because if people see that, okay, she's standing in front of this kind of home at this price point or in this area, and you want to work with buyers in that area or sellers in that area, that it only makes sense, right, to put out content that reflects that. So for me, I really built a presence in Sea Caucus, right? So like
Yeah.
a lot of my listings are there, and I think a lot of sellers see those in that area, and they call me now. But even with buyers, it's amazing just how many calls I get now. Like, oh, can you help me buy this house or that? And it's like social media is free. It's like the one area where you don't have to pay for leads. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But in terms of like an ideal client, I just want to attract people that respect my time, and like that know how to like have boundaries, and are respectful. Because I mean, we could have a whole different podcast just on like dealing with like difficult clients and ones that really drain your energy.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Can we? That's like a therapy session, but sure.
Okay. I mean, because like that's a thing. And I think that's in all industries, right?
Yeah.
We all have those clients that like, if we don't know that they're time wasters, we spend all this time and then we find out at the end and it was like a rough thing. So like, how do you, like, if maybe you can like tell me about an experience you had in particular, or maybe just some lessons learned, but like, I would like to touch on that subject.
Yeah. I think in the beginning when I first started, no matter how crazy or energetically draining that client was, I I wanted to close as much as I could, and I was taking business any way I could, that I kind of like just stuck it out. And I always reminded myself, Claudia, one day when you get to the point where you are successful enough and have enough money or income to, you'll be in a position where you'll be able to turn down these kind of clients. And that was kind of always my motivator. I was like, one day I'll be
Yeah.
able to kind of like just not have to deal with this. But for now, I would always just like internally remind myself, you got to push through. You got to push through. There's a bigger purpose. You can help them, and things like that. So now I'm in a position where I do feel like I can be selective, and it's like the most freeing and like invigorating feeling. But it wasn't always like that. And now it's like the most empowering feeling, which I'm sure you can like, agree to, where like you're just, and I'm also a lot smarter now. So I can also just see like, and I could read somebody a lot better. And like, I can tell, okay, they're serious or they're not, they're reaching out for the wrong reasons or they're not. They're not, and sometimes too, it comes down to like a personality match. Sometimes it's just not a good fit, right? Like some clients might not match my personality. They might not really understand like what I'm doing, and that's okay. Like I can't force
What do
it.
you mean by that? Like the social media stuff?
Yeah, some of them just,
Old school.
They old school, or sometimes, I maybe I'm a little too much for somebody, but that's, what, like I'd rather focus my energy on somebody who like appreciates how my energy and like what I put into it and things like that. So, I think it's okay to know that like not everyone is for you, not every client is for you.
Yeah, and I think it's important, even like, and it's tough when you're starting out, right? Because you're like depending on it, so it's just like,
I know,
okay.
and then you're always like, what if it gets better? Like,
Yeah, you try
and
to
then it
like
never
justify
does.
it. Yeah. But it's cool. I also feel like you do need to spend that time dealing with it for the sole reason of it. You'll gain exposure to it, so that way you can like suss it out in the future and be like, oh, I know where this is going, or like,
Yeah,
I've dealt with this before.
you get smarter.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I know this. Yeah, maybe not for me. And then you get more confident too to like be able to let that go.
Okay. So I kind of just want to like wrap my head around like overarching what we spoke on. So it's essentially like how you got into the game was essentially just like a side pocket thing. And you were just like, hey, I want to do it for myself. Do you still, sorry, this is like a little tangent, but do you still flip?
Like maybe like one house a year, but really like my goal has always been to own multifamily investment properties. Like I want to own property. I want to own real estate. I mean, I sell real estate. So like I should practice what I preach,
Yeah.
right? Like one thing I never understood is like how some realtors sell real estate and like they don't own property themselves. I mean, real estate has absolutely changed my life. And
In what do you mean? In what sense?
owning, so I own 9 units now,
you.
in Secaucus actually. And, that's like the town that I immigrated to when I was 6 years old. I didn't speak any English.
From where?
I immigrated from France.
Nice.
Yeah. I didn't speak any English. I came from nothing. My mom had, $10 to her
Can
name.
you still speak French?
No, I don't speak it anymore. But, I didn't come from money. I didn't come from a family of real estate. And it's just like, it's such a 360, like a full circle moment to me, like to think of this little girl that like moved to the United States for a better life and like moved to this town in Secaucus, New Jersey, like where, and then now I own 9 units in that town. Like, it's just so crazy. I mean, how did it change my life? It's created generational wealth that I've never had, and now one day, like when I have a family, I've broken those generational curses, right? And like that is so crazy, because people who are in my position, who grew up, in the lifestyle that I did, are not meant to be in this position. Right. But I turned that narrative around, and yeah, it's changed my life. I mean, I have properties now that cash flow me enough money to, I wouldn't say I'm financially free yet. I have a goal, but I'm definitely, at a point where I'm building that portfolio. And, the goal for me has always been financial freedom, right? To be able to work on my own time, have time freedom. And I think as business owners, we always say like, oh, we have all this time, but like, it's actually not true. We're probably working like double what a 9 to 5 person is, right? So I think like it's just so important for us to remember, like, although we have these businesses that are thriving and making great money, we have to keep investing it, because if you don't invest your money, you're always going to be working and chasing for that dollar and the next deal. And I don't want to do that. Like, I love selling real estate, but I don't want to be chasing that deal forever, right? So I'm 26 now, and hopefully my properties, the more I continue to add to the portfolio, can retire me at any age, whether I want to retire at 30 or 35 or 40, which I probably won't, because I'm a psycho and I love real estate.
I get it. Yeah.
But at least I have that option, right? I watched my mom, work 80 hours a week at a hair salon my whole life. She couldn't afford to put us in childcare. So, I would be sitting at the hair salon after school and I wouldn't get home till 9, 10 o'clock. And, I had the free lunches at school and, all this stuff. And now it's like, I can buy whatever food I want and I can, I could retire my mom. I could buy her a car. Like that's the goal,
That's
right?
awesome.
That's what we do it for. It's not all the other fancy, things. It's to take care of the people that you love and create a life for yourself that you never had.
Who instilled that like bug in you for the multifamilies? Like, where did that even come from?
When I was in college, I was always listening to these podcasts about
Is
like
it Bigger Pockets?
Yeah, Bigger Pockets. Are you a Bigger Pockets listener?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah. So when I was in college, I would listen to these podcasts, and
They're
they would
great,
always
by
be
the way,
talking.
like,
Of course, yeah. And they'd always be talking about investing in real estate. And then I would also read a lot of books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm
Classic.
sure the
Yeah.
classic. I feel like I wish they made every single like young high school student read that.
Yeah, there's like a few. Yeah.
No, that book is just so like it's just so impactful, but like basic too, to the core. Like it really just outlines like basic fundamental principles that make you understand, cash flow, like the concept of cash flow and the concept of working for your money versus having your money work for you, right? Like things you're not taught in school. They just don't teach you this in school. And I just like reading those books and continuously being fed that information through podcasts and books, a light bulb just went in me like, oh my God, like I need to invest in real estate. So yeah, when I was 23, I bought my first multifamily home. And you know how I got that property? I was knocking on doors. I was like, I am going
way.
to buy a property. And I was like, it was like almost the end of the year. And I was like, it's got to happen before the end of the year. And I just went to work and I ended up knocking on a door and convinced this woman to sell this 2-family to me. And that was my first one. I got it for an unbelievable price. Bought it for like $595 2 years ago. The house right next door to me literally just went on the market a few weeks ago and sold for $950. Same house. But that's the power of real estate.
That's the power of having determination and drive to get it first.
Yeah. I think I manifested that for myself for sure.
100%.
But like, how just amazing is that? Like in 2 years, that appreciation that I saw, just crazy. And but yeah, I got that by knocking on a door, and because I told myself that it was happening for me, I think like it was a lot of sacrifice too, like throughout my college years, and I didn't really live like a life that a lot of young 21-year-olds lived, right? Like my friends were going out, I was working 3 jobs. I was working literally 3-4 jobs while I was in college. I had to pay myself through college, and I went to a pretty good university too, and that's something I was proud of myself for doing, because I'm a first generation college student. So I worked and I saved every dime I could, and I think that's really what got me into it though. Those books and those podcasts.
I love that. I think you touched on something, whether you realize it or not, but like there's this like, I don't even know how to explain it, but like there's this weird energy like in the air, and like we can tap into it, and that's how we like come up with like really great ideas and have the drive that just comes from like the fire in our belly to like actually actualize it, right?
Yeah.
And I guess my thing is like, is that an innate thing that people are born with, or can we break it down to be able to teach that to people?
That fire in you?
Not even the fire, but like the
drive?
I guess it is the fire, but like it's like knowing that it's gonna happen before it happens, and I don't care what anyone else is gonna tell me, because I know for a fact it's gonna happen.
Mindset.
And then it happens, and then people are like, wait, but how did
Yeah. So basically you're asking if you think like mindset is something you're born with.
Is that just a mindset
or something
thing?
that could be, I think it's a mindset
guess.
thing.
All
Yeah.
right.
I mean, for me, like I've always had the mindset of like, if somebody can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
It's like that simple, and even when I got into real estate, I one of my biggest in the beginning driving, one of my biggest motivators was seeing what my competition was doing. And I was like, hold on, wait a second. If they can do it, I can do it, because they're not even doing that much. Like they're doing the bare minimum, and I feel like I could bring a lot more to the table. And I was like, hold on, what's making them more special than me that I can't achieve what they're achieving? They were hitting big numbers, these people. So, I mean, I think that's so important to like always understand. If somebody can do it, you can. Obviously, you have to put in the work and have, the proper mindset and things like that. But also for me, like, going back to my mom, because she is like my biggest motivator and, inspiration in life, like she always reminds me too, like, well, actually when I first started in the business, every time I would like have a fear or a doubt, and I would go to my mom and say, Mom, what if I can't do it? What if I'm embarrassing myself? My mom would always say, like, option is not a failure. I'm sorry, option is not a failure is not an option. Sorry. My mom would always say, failure is not an option. Yeah. And when you think of it that way, like, yeah, it's not what if I don't succeed? It's that, it's not an option. Like if you work hard enough and you have a vision and you act according to your plan, like how is it possible that you don't succeed, right? And if something doesn't work, you readjust.
Yeah. It's like you either win or you learn.
Yeah.
Right? But there's no losing.
And my mom always brings me back to like, even when I was like, we talk about this all the time, and she's like, Claudia, you think when I immigrated to the United States with you and your brother and a single parent, like you think I asked myself, what if it doesn't work out? No. Like I told myself, there is no other option but for me to succeed in this new place so that my kids and myself can have a better life, right? Like the option to not succeed and go back to where we were coming from, like that wasn't a thing, right? And so with that mindset, like she made it work, and I think we turned out all right.
That's awesome. And that's the biggest thing, like for like anyone with kids, is like, I sure hope I'm doing a good job teaching them, and that they pick up the right things.
you figure it out as you go,
But that's awesome. I think you definitely made your mom proud,
Hopefully. I'm still trying to every day.
Yeah, and I also feel like that's maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like maybe that's where your faith, maybe she holds a lot of your faith, maybe in the sense of like you like, my main thing is like, okay, if you try something 100 times and it doesn't work, when does that doubt start to creep in? It's like, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, or like maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Versus like, no, I have this drive and this fire, and I know for a fact it's gonna work.
Yeah.
I just need to do it 100 more times.
Yeah.
How do you like?
Yeah, like when do you give up?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question, Mike. What do you think?
For me, I don't give up. I mean, it's like just do or die.
Yeah.
It's like failure isn't an option.
And
for me personally,
I agree. I've always had that mindset. And I think obviously if you're doing things 100 times and they're not working, maybe just like readjust a little bit, like
pivot,
right? Like maybe that thing's not working, but it doesn't mean that you can't get to your ultimate goal. Maybe you just need to change a little or tweak a little something, right? Like it's just same thing with like realtors, right? Like they ask me all the time, they're like, how are you getting all these leads? I'm making these calls all the time and I'm doing this and that, and it's not working. And then I'm like, obviously be consistent, be persistent, but maybe change it up. Maybe do something a little different.
How does one change it up when they don't even know what they're doing to begin with?
They don't know what they're doing.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm a realtor, right? And I'm like, okay, Claudia's doing her thing with the video. She's obviously getting leads. It's obviously working. Yeah. I try to go out. I might not have a budget to make videos, so I'm doing it on my phone. And then like it's not like nobody's even viewing it, so I can't really like do what she's doing.
Yeah. Well, you need to have listings to make videos too, right? So I know. You have to go. I feel like you have to start with the basics. Like you're gonna have to do the things that probably most top producing agents don't want to do. And like,
what is that? Because you keep saying that you go above and beyond, and all the big agents that are making crazy numbers are just doing the bare minimum. Like, what is that extra mile? Like, what is that?
Just standing out amongst your competition. Like, I think for me, I'm standing out now as like a marketer. Like, I'm a top marketer. I do things that are different than most agents in terms of my marketing. I invest a lot of money into marketing.
In marketing, do you mean social media?
Or there's everything. More? Yeah, there's a lot that goes into marketing.
Let's talk about it. What else? What other avenues?
There's social media. There's digital marketing, media marketing.
Pretend I'm a child. What is the difference between digital marketing and media marketing?
Okay, so I would say like digital marketing is more about what marketing you're doing to digitally present the home on a listing side, right? So, I mean, there's going on the MLS and syndication and, Zillow and realtor.com and all that and, photos and videography and floor plans and Matterports and everything, right? That comes with like your digital presence. Like how are you digitally marketing that home, right? And then there's the media marketing side. Like how are you reaching people, right? Like your SOI, your like
SOI, please, for the people at
search
home.
engine optimization.
SEO.
SEO, search engine optimization, your pay-per-click clicks on websites, your website creation, there's so much. I mean,
So website
prints,
creation,
brochures, like there's so much, honestly, like that it would take me a while to go through. But I think also like every agent has to kind of like fine tune it to them and like what makes sense, right? Because you're explaining this on a listing appointment to your seller. Like you have to kind of like put together what works for you and like what you're passionate about, what you think can work for your brand.
So yeah, like what works for you might not be what works for me. That's why when I do the videos, it's not working because maybe that's not my.
Yeah.
I should
I know,
pivot.
so many people try to like force it.
Yes.
And it's so obvious.
No.
Like there's so many successful agents that don't need to be on camera. Like that's not them. That's not their brand.
So you feel like there's certain
Yeah.
people that just shouldn't even be on social?
No, I don't think that, but there's some people who are like, let's be honest, a little awkward on camera.
I'm a little awkward on camera.
Well, I mean, you're like a creative. You're supposed to be behind the camera, right?
Yeah, I'm
and I don't think you're
supposed to be
awkward.
behind the camera.
But, I'm just saying, like, there's so many successful realtors that don't necessarily, like, put themselves on social media like I do. And they're still very successful. And I think they bring a lot of value in their own way, So I just...
Because I'm a firm believer that social media can help literally everybody and anyone.
I mean, I agree. Social media is huge. Like, it's literally a virtual billboard. And you can create your own narrative
For free. If you have a phone in your hand.
Yeah. It's crazy. But, there's obviously some agents who are doing really well that don't use it. So I don't know. I mean, especially like, let's be honest, if you're like a 55-year-old realtor and like, you don't really care about social media, really know too much about it, but you've had like 20 years of experience, I'm sure you have a really good network and referral basis. Like you're going to be doing business just based off of that. Right. So I think it's like more for people who are just trying to break into the business, right? And reach people and get exposure.
Cool. I don't want to drill too much on like the marketing side of things because I feel like we got a good idea on it. And I want to be respectful of your time. I don't know.
Oh, how long is it?
It's almost 152.
Listen, I could talk about real estate for hours, so
because
don't worry about me.
Okay, because I genuinely see real value that you can provide to so many people, right?
Which camera are we looking at? This one or this one?
So that's your solo cam and that's your
okay,
group
so there's
cam.
multiple, and that's yours.
Yeah, that's my solo,
cool.
but that's the group. So that's if we're talking to everybody, we're talking to the middle one.
Got it.
Let's talk about multifamilies a little bit more, if that's okay with you.
Yes. You have a property, right, in Nutley?
No, babe. She has all the property. She's the investor. I don't.
Oh, amazing! Wait, I want to learn all about your investing side too.
So I mean, I don't even know.
But yeah, what do you want to talk about multifamily?
So like, I guess my main thing is because like I am a student of learning, and I truly love real estate.
Yeah.
Like just from working, osmosis has made me like want to like learn more.
Yeah.
But like, in your experience, because you have 9, are they all
units.
Multifamily or 9 units?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's 9 units, 3 buildings. So we a 1 5-unit building.
Oh my God.
A 1 2-unit building and another 2-unit building. Yeah.
So let's talk about the 5 because that's more like my language.
That was a huge deal for me. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you? Okay. So one, how did you know that it was going to be profitable or like even worth your time and investment?
Yep.
Let's start with that. How do you even know?
It's actually funny. So I think like now that I'm in the business in real estate sales, like I get so much opportunity to invest. Like I kind of get more firsthand ability because now I get calls from a lot of sellers, right? So this one was actually a seller who was thinking about selling the building. And I went to meet him. He wanted to know like, what it was worth. And then after I left that appointment, I was just like, wait a second. I want to buy that. And I found it what I thought was really interesting about that deal was we had a creative financing deal on it. So it wasn't a traditional, loan type. And I'll go into a little bit more about creative financing, seller financing, and things like that. But automatically, when I left that appointment, I knew that this particular seller didn't have a mortgage on the property. He owned the property outright for a long time.
Good for him.
Right? So he, older gentleman, has many buildings, by the way. So my goal is to keep just like buying them. Yeah. As I keep saving money, I'm like, hey, got any properties for me to buy? But so as soon as I left that appointment, I asked, I knew he didn't have a mortgage on the property, and he wanted, I thought it was worth about 1.2 million, which is what I told him. I was very honest.
In Secaucus?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, I said to myself, I was like, this might be crazy. Like, how am I going to buy a $1.2 million building? But then I'm like, you know what? What if I get creative with the financing option? Since he has no mortgage, why don't I propose a seller financing deal? So
break that down.
Yeah. So seller financing is essentially when the owner, the seller, becomes the bank. So I can purchase the property basically through him. He holds the mortgage until I pay it off. So,
and he was cool with that?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times in this kind of market, especially when rates are a little bit higher, and sellers, want to sell a property, they are, especially if they don't have a mortgage, they might be open to a creative financing deal, right? Because they're making interest on it. So it's not like, they're making,
the
on top of the sale price, they're also collecting interest for X amount of years, the amount of years you guys have agreed to based on the terms and the deal that you made. So for me, it was
quick question, because it just popped up. What happens if someone defaults on those payments? Is that person
the seller takes the property back? So it's like a win-win for him, right? Because they get the property back. Yeah, just like a bank. So, but what's really cool about it is you can negotiate all the terms. There's no bank involved.
The bank. Yeah.
So like, Mr. Seller, this is the interest rate that I want. This is the price I want to offer you. I want a, 8-year balloon. I want to pay you back in this amount of years. And in this X amount of years, I, will owe X amount. Like, this is all stuff that you can create on your own, like between you and the seller. Like, how amazing is that? Like, no bank involved.
Did you get I'm sorry, but like negotiating is its own beast of its own, right? Did you learn that just from experience on the job, or did you read books on negotiating?
No, I just like surrounded myself with people who I, admired, and I would listen to these people negotiating, and I'd be like taking tips in my head, right? Like, power of proximity is very important, and, just like listening and watching from people doing it, right? Obviously there's books too that I've read, but I've been lucky to have like great people in my corner who have helped me, figure out, like, and you also learn from mistakes. Like, sometimes I've caught myself like in situations where after I get off the phone, I'm like, oh crap, I shouldn't have said that. Right. And then I reflect, and then I call somebody who I look up to, and I'm like, what should I have done different? And they're like, you should have said this. And they're like, okay, mental note, right? For next time. So with experience and time, it takes time. But going back to that deal.
Yes.
So yeah, I said to myself, I was going to make it work. So, you can negotiate the down payment. They don't even have to vet your income, because like, how getting a loan with a bank is crazy.
Yeah,
it's such a pain in the ass, right? Like, they want to ask they literally want every single thing about your life. And, so I pitched that deal to him. And, long story short, it ended up working out. I negotiated an insane interest rate for like a commercial deal. It was like in the 3s. Insanely good. Yeah. Like in the 3s, which is insane. A really good balloon payment period. And just all around, like, it was a great deal, but also for him too. There's tax advantages with seller financing. So it really was a win-win for both parties. But, I think that transaction and that deal, that closing, really, really, gave me like the confidence that the sky really is the limit, Like, I think it was last year. So I was 25. How many 25-year-olds can say they're building, like they're buying a five unit building,
Not many.
For 1.2 million. And again, like, I'm nothing special. For me, I'm a person who knows to look for opportunity, and if I see opportunity, I'm going to pursue it. And then I'm a problem solver. So I find ways to make things work. And at the time it seemed crazy, but then I was like, how can I make it work? And then I just started putting the puzzle pieces together and I was like, no, I can do this. You know?
Okay, so that just acquiring the property is a massive puzzle piece, right? But now we have to talk about getting it, fully fitted with tenants and maintenance and whatever. How do you make something like that work profitably?
Yeah. So we took that building took on with 5 tenants, right?
Oh, so it was all fully
occupied. Occupied with low rents, right?
Okay.
So a lot of the last year has been working on stabilizing the building, right?
What does that mean?
Increasing rents to market value. We actually had one tenant turnover like a few months back, and that person was paying like $1,300 for a 2-bedroom. It was so low.
That's incredible.
They got out, and now we're getting $2,300, right? $1,000 more.
Yeah, huge.
Renovated it, and as other tenants start turning over, those units will continue to be renovated and rent increase. So it's going to take time, right? It's not like and that's the thing too that people have to really understand about real estate. It's not like a get rich quick. Wish it was. As you know, it's a long-term wealth building strategy, and as time goes on and tenants turn over and I'm able to renovate more units and get market rents up and, the building is finally stabilized, that's when you start really reaping the rewards, right? It's still cash flowing, but I know that there's a lot more room for growth, which is good, right?
Does it pay for itself at least?
100% cash flows.
Oh, cash flows.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's the goal, right? Just to keep improving and keep adding units to the portfolio that cash flow, and eventually you have enough cash flow, like I said, to retire.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I think that's awesome.
And you learned something new today: seller financing.
Yeah, which is amazing because, and that's the thing is like, I've worked with so many people in the industry, and it's just like hearing their like tips and tricks, and it's finally I'm getting to a point where it's like, okay, I need to like start taking actionable steps to like start doing this for like myself. And like, I love commercial, I love industrial like stuff. So like, I definitely like Sea Caucus has a lot of industrial stuff. So maybe we can like talk about that stuff later. But yeah, I mean, I find it so fascinating. I think your drive and your will to succeed is amazing. I don't know if that can be taught.
I don't think so. I think some things you just have to experience in life, and I think it's got to be like something of fire in you,
Yeah.
And I think like some people, and I think some people are okay like just living a little bit more of a simple life, like working a 9 to 5, and that's okay. I'm not knocking it. Sometimes on days where I'm super stressed, I'm like, oh, sometimes I just wish I'd like had it simple. But then you go back, and then a day later, I'm like, no, I get bored.
Yeah.
I'm constantly wanting to challenge myself.
So what's the next big challenge?
Oh, getting deep here, Mike. What's
the
next big challenge?
Is it a 10 unit?
I have goals like every year. Like I want to, buy a certain amount of property. Like for me, it was always 1 property a year. I think maybe I'll up that to like 2 a year as time goes on, right? Like I have to be realistic with myself and not put so much pressure too. So like I have goals on the sales side. Like I want to hit a certain volume of sales this year, and I just want to keep growing. Like every year, if I'm doing better on each one of my businesses and I'm seeing growth, I'm happy.
Yeah.
To me, like I don't need to like chase this big goal. Like I just need to know that every year I'm like improving and doing better, and improving the lives of people around me, and just that's it. That's all I really strive to do. Like be a better version of myself every day, and more importantly, like every year. Like I don't know if you do this, but like especially towards the end of the year in like December, I always do like a self-reflection.
I started it like 2-3 years ago.
It's like my favorite time of year. It's like you finally get to just like sit down, like process like what happened this year. Yeah, like what happened, and it's like always gets me so emotional because it's just like so crazy how much your life can change in 1 year, 2 years. Like 3 years ago, I was sitting at my miserable job and being called stupid by my boss, making $30,000 a year. Like how crazy is that? In 3 years, I've completely changed my life.
That's awesome.
It's just, I think we always have to remind ourselves of like where we come from and constantly have gratitude and
stay humble.
Stay humble and bring us back to where we started. Because I think it's so easy to get caught up, in like the commissions and how well you're doing and, oh, my business made this much, I'm always trying to just remind myself, like, I think I cry at least once a week about how like just grateful I am. Like, I'm just like sitting in my car and I'm like, oh my God, like how is this real life? And then I'm just like always like just thanking, just thanking the universe. And something I'm always like looking to do is always give back. So like, this year I have 2 scholarships I created, and I'm just going to like keep doing that because I think like that's important too.
Yeah, absolutely. Giving back is huge. I think it's a necessity. I definitely think it's important. Yeah, I mean, I have one more question, and you tell me if it's too. I don't want to impose.
No, I love these questions. I'm like, I don't know, you haven't known me too long, but you can tell I'm an open book.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because it's like, how can we exchange value and just like 1 + 1 = 11? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Time management, and I'm just speaking introspectively. Like, it is the most important thing that I'm currently like focusing on.
Yeah.
Right. And how do we manage our time properly? How do we delegate tasks so that way time gets split up evenly and properly and correctly and everything happens? And then you now become a manager more so than a doer.
I know.
And so like, how have you like fully, like, I know you don't have a team just yet, right? Is this something that you're looking towards? And do you have like people helping you on the property side, or is that all you?
Oh. This is like, you're probably asking the wrong person because I'm the worst with this. I definitely have like a control problem, and it's something hard for me to let go of, like control. And I'm sure as an entrepreneur, like you understand, like your business, my Goose Media too, it's like, it's your baby, right? So it's like learning to delegate and let go of that control is so hard. It's still something I'm working on actively. You might think I'm crazy, but I still do everything myself. Everything.
That's a lot.
I don't have an assistant. I still write my own offers. I still put up my own listings. I obviously go on all my listing appointments. I, still go to every inspection, appraisal. I do everything. And it is crazy. And I am constantly trying to work on time management. And it's probably something I haven't really honed in on just yet. But I think I get yelled at least once a week from people at my office like, Claudia, get an assistant. What are you doing? Yeah. Like our office admin, she's like always yelling at me like, upload your files. What are you closed on this deal 3 weeks ago. What are you doing? I'm like, Phyllis, I'm sorry. I'm getting to it. I promise. She's like, you need an assistant. I'm working on it. Like that's the goal. That's the next goal, to get an assistant.
If I may, the book Free to Focus is fantastic.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna order that tonight.
Yeah, it's a great
Free
book.
to Focus.
Free to Focus.
So it's like delegating is hard. Time management is figuring out time management in this business specifically too. In real estate, it's really hard because at any given moment we could literally be pulled in a million different directions, and it's out of our control. Like I have a client. I could have a client text me right now. Like, I just saw this property. I want to see it in an hour. Can you show it? Like, I'm gonna try to make myself accommodating to them, right? So I think for you, it's probably a little bit easier because you could probably have a little bit more structure with like shooting and editing, right? But for real estate, it's just like, it's all over the place. It's a free for all. I could have a seller call me, that they want me to go on a listing appointment and on this time and this day, like, and I got to go, So yeah, it's hard. But finding systems and people in your corner who can help you. And obviously that's the goal.
From what I've seen, just from experience, like through working with the realtors, having a team is huge. Yeah. But before having a team, leadership mentality is way more important.
I don't think I'm in a spot where I want to do a team right now. I just want to be in production. I just want to sell real estate. I still think I have so much to learn and give. Who knows?
I love that though, that you have this drive. Right. And you obviously know that like in order to expand, obviously more people need to be involved, but you don't want to like jump 2 rungs, like you're taking everything with a grain of salt, which I find interesting.
I think that's something I've always been good at in life. Like, it's so easy for us to like want to jump to the next thing, but I'm good at like bringing myself back to like reality and saying like, listen, baby steps, like we were talking about in the very beginning of the podcast, like enjoying the journey, like taking the baby steps needed to get to where you want to be. You know, I understand that it's a marathon, right? It's not a race. And I want to learn, and I'm like a sponge right now. Like everything I'm seeing and doing, I'm just like constantly learning, and it's so exciting to me. And who knows, like maybe one day I'm in a position where I'm really overwhelmed and I don't want to take that next step. But right now I just want to be in production. I want to sell real estate. I want to meet and talk to as many people as I can. I want to sell as many properties as I can. I want to bring as much value as I can. And maybe one day, you know, I can lead a team or somebody, but who knows? Right now, it's just not in my future. I just really want to focus on what I'm doing. It's working. So
exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. I think people always forget that. They're always like chasing for the next big thing, but like, you know, it's good to remind yourself, like, if it's working right now, maybe just keep building on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
What about you? You think you'll get some people, like, are you thinking about growing?
So the only reason I ask is because we're like currently trying to expand.
I can tell it seems like time management, you're a little overwhelmed.
It's not so much like, yes, overwhelmed.
But it's a good thing, right? And
it's a great thing.
It's a good thing because you're busy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just more so that it's new.
Yeah.
You know, and this is obviously something I'm gonna talk more about like on my content stuff. But like, it's a weird chicken and egg situation, you know, where I don't know exactly what to do next. But I think slow and steady is the best. So instead of just
slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah. Instead of bringing on like 15 people at once, let's just bring one at a time.
Yeah.
You know,
sometimes when you grow too fast, it's never good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like, I definitely want to take my time with it. And again, that personal touch, it's so hard to relinquish that personal touch because I'm like, hey, look, I spoke with Claudia. We had good rapport, and you know, it was a great. What happens if I give that contact to someone else and now that she's working with...
She's like, well, who the heck is this?
Yeah. And not only that, but that person is like, they don't see Claudia's vision as well as I do. And then all these things come to my mind and it's just like, she's not going to connect with this person because they don't know what they're, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then it's like, I think the 80-20 rule helped me out a lot. If the person I give the task to can do 80% of the job, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything can't be 100%. Sam always like reminds me of this because it's something I always say, but it's like done is better than perfect. And it's very important to remember that, especially when there's so many things in the queue. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about myself. This is about you.
I'm sorry. I hate just talking about myself. So
no,
like,
this is great. I mean, we'll chop it up too. So like it'll be a bunch of great shorts. Is there anything that Claudia Roesing, right? That's how you say it.
Claudia Roesing.
Is there anything that Claudia Roesing has coming up soon? Any listings maybe that you want to, or any events that you'll be hosting, or is there anything that you just want to like plug? Anything coming up on the near horizon?
The listings I'm gonna leave for a surprise. Constantly thinking of good ways to kind of come out with content. So like the next one we're gonna shoot, Mike, I'm gonna be starting the video with me standing on a kayak.
We did a boat. By the way.
Yeah, but the next one is going to be a kayak. Okay. Actually.
You got to be careful. Have you ever been on a kayak before?
Yes.
They're a little wobbly.
And listen, if I fall, it's great BTS, right?
I guess.
But no, and then it's going to be like sunset themed, like, really cool. But I mean, do I have anything that I want to leave? I don't know.
That's okay. I mean, we'll keep them, we'll let them know when it happens.
Look, follow me on social media.
Where can they follow you at?
Claudia Roesing. And stay tuned for all my videos and hopefully more to come. I really want to create a YouTube channel. I want to do like more of this podcast stuff. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where the future takes me.
And that's it. There you have it.
That's a wrap.